She came in on a seizure manifest between a crate of counterfeit nav chips and a drum of unregistered propellant gel. Line 47. Item designation: biological material, non-sapient class pending verification, origin disputed, custody, Frontier Seizure Authority, Depot 11, listed in kilograms. No name, no age notation, no species flag, beyond chitinous insectoid, substandard mass. I'd been processing Depot 11's intake logs for 11 years by then. 11 years of miscategorized cargo, fraudulent provenance papers, and the particular brand of quiet cruelty that frontier seizure law permits when no one senior enough is watching. I knew what line 47 was the moment I read it. I'd seen it before, twice. Both times the item in question had already been loaded back onto an outbound hauler before I got to the bay. Both times I'd filed a correction report that went nowhere and spent the next month not sleeping well. This time, I was on the morning shift. The haulers didn't run until 1600. I had 7 hours. The bay where they'd staged the seizure cargo was cold and lit by single overhead panels, half of them flickering. The propellant drum was real enough, a hazard flag on it the size of my forearm. The nav chips were boxed in a standard crate with a broken seal, and between them, cargo pallet with a yellow intake tag rubber banded around one thin limb, was a child. She was sitting, with her knees drawn up, and her wing casings folded tight against her back, which is what Veth children do when they're frightened. They compress themselves, make the smallest possible shape, go very still. Compound eyes caught the overhead light and threw it back in fragments, gold and pale green. She was watching me with all of them. Crouched down, I didn't reach for her. I just got level with her and said, in the 3 words of Veth I actually knew, still, I stay. She didn't move, but the wing casings loosened just slightly. I went back to my desk and I started filing. First document was a species verification flag, mandatory under Frontier Authority Code Section 7-SA, whenever intake personnel had reasonable cause to believe a seized item might be sapient. Reasonable cause was defined loosely enough that I could park a freighter through it. I flagged her. That triggered an automatic hold on any transfer or re-export pending verification review. Minimum hold period, 48 hours. I logged the flag at 0712. The second document was a dependency jurisdiction claim. Under the Frontier Compact, any sapient minor found without a verified legal guardian within depot jurisdiction could be placed under provisional administrative wardship pending tribunal review. The wardship had to be filed by a depot officer of record. I was a depot officer of record. I filed it at 0719. The third document was a communication to the Resettlement Advocacy Office on Carath Station, tagged urgent, flagging a possible unaccompanied sapient minor and requesting a case officer be dispatched. I sent it at 0722 and then I went back to the bay. I brought her a water bulb and a packet of compressed grain rations that I wasn't sure she could eat. She looked at the grain for a moment, then picked it up in both hands. 4-fingered, the chitin pale at the joints, turned it over twice and set it aside. She accepted the water. She held it without drinking it and kept watching me. I stayed with her until the morning shift supervisor came looking for me at 0900. There's a discrepancy in the line 47 intake. I told him before he could say anything. I've filed the necessary holds. The item is in Bay 3, under provisional wardship pending species verification. He looked at me. Rennick had been running shifts at Depot 11 for longer than I had, and he had the eyes of a man who had learned when something was going to become his problem regardless of what he chose. How long's the hold? He asked. 48 hours minimum. Longer if Carath sends a case officer. He looked at the ceiling. Retrieval party arrived this morning. Veth Contract House, Direct Consolidated Holdings. They've got a claim of origin document. That's fine, I said. They can file it with the wardship tribunal. He left me alone. The Durek men came to my desk at 10:40. 2 of them, bounty trackers by the look of their gear. Light body armor, contract house badges on lanyards, the flat patient expressions of people who'd had this conversation in many different depots and found that patience usually worked faster than aggression. The taller one put a document sleeve on my desk. Claim of origin, he said. Uruk Consolidated Holdings versus Unclaimed Biological Item. Seized Frontier Corridor 7. Reference Seizure Manifest Depot 11. 7. We'll need release authorization and a transfer receipt. I looked at the sleeve, I didn't open it. I can't authorize a transfer, I said. Line 47 is under provisional administrative wardship, pending species verification and tribunal review. Any competing claims have to be filed with the wardship tribunal on Kareth Station. Standard processing time is 12 to 16 standard days. The taller one didn't blink. We have a valid claim of origin contract. I'm sure you do, I said. The tribunal will review it. The item is direct contracted breeding stock, the second one said. Not aggressively. Just factually, the way you describe a piece of equipment. Contract predates the seizure. Your wardship filing doesn't supersede a prior contractual claim. That's a legal question, I said. Tribunal will decide it. There was a pause. The taller one looked at me with the expression of a man recalibrating. He'd expected me to fold at the contract paperwork. Most people did. A claim of origin from a registered contract house tended to end these conversations quickly in frontier depots because the alternative meant forms, delays, and someone senior asking why you'd made things complicated. Could have this resolved today, he said. Informally. I'm sure, I said. But line 47 is a sapient minor under provisional wardship. I can't release her in form or formally until the tribunal rules. If your claim is valid, the tribunal will confirm it. 12 to 16 days. Picked up the sleeve. He and the second one exchanged a look. Not angry, just recalculating. They left. I waited until I heard the exterior door close. Then I went back to my terminal and filed the fourth document. This one was the move I'd been saving. Under Frontier Compact Article 19, a wardship claim filed by a depot officer could be converted to a permanent guardianship application if the minor in question had been transported across a border corridor in violation of compact trafficking statutes. Specifically, if the minor had been moved under a false item designation. Line 47 had designated her as non-sapient class pending verification. She verified as sapient, and she would. Because I was going to make sure the verification was done by someone who knew what they were looking at, then the false designation constituted a trafficking violation, which voided any prior contractual claim on her person under compact law. Void. Suspended, not under review. Gone. The Durek men knew the law. When the trafficking violation hit their claim, it wouldn't just lose, it would expose the contract house to a compact enforcement investigation. I filed the conversion application at 11:03. At 14:20, I got a reply from Kareth Station. Case officer dispatched. Estimated arrival 36 hours. At 14:51, the Durek men came back. The taller one looked different this time. He still had the patient expression. But there was something behind it now. The particular stillness of a man who had reviewed his position and found it smaller than he'd thought. We'd like to discuss the wardship filing, he said. There's nothing to discuss on my end, I said. The tribunal process is automatic once the conversion application is in. You're welcome to file a response with the tribunal. You filed a trafficking flag. I filed what the statutes required given the item designation on the manifest. He looked at me for a long moment. You know what you're doing. I'm doing my job, I said. Line 47 is a sapient minor. She was logged as non-sapient freight. That's a manifest discrepancy and a compact violation. The tribunal process exists to sort it out. And your guardianship application, part of the process. Another long pause. Outside the depot's single window, the light was going flat and gray. Late afternoon on a frontier outpost, the same thin light every day. After a moment, the taller one picked up the document sleeve again, looked at it, and put it back in his coat. The contract house may contest, he said. They're welcome to, I said. The tribunal will review the trafficking flag first. That part takes a while. He left. They didn't come back. I went to Bay 3 at 1600. When the haulers were running their routes and the depot was quiet, she was in the same position, knees up, wing casings folded. But when I came through the door, she didn't compress further. She watched me come across the bay and crouch down in front of her, and when I held out my hand, palm up, not reaching, just there, she looked at it for a long moment. Then she put her four-fingered hand in mine. It was light, barely any weight at all. The chitin was cool and smooth. I didn't say anything. Neither did she. We stayed like that, while the light through the bay's high window went from gray to amber, And somewhere outside the depot, the haulers rumbled past on their routes, carrying whatever they were carrying to wherever it was going. The Kareth case officer arrived 31 hours later. The species verification took 4 hours after that and came back exactly as I knew it would. The trafficking flag activated automatically. Turek Consolidated Holdings filed a contest notice 12 days later, withdrew it 8 days after that, and I never heard from them again. The guardianship finalized on a Tuesday. Nothing ceremonial about it. A document, a signature, a confirmation ping from the tribunal registry. I was at my desk when it came through. I printed it, walked to Bay 3. She'd been moved to a proper room by then, one of the empty staff quarters on the depot's second level, with a window, and slid it under the door. She opened the door, read it, looked at me. She didn't have the words yet. She was learning them. We were working through it every evening. Me with a Veth language primer that was 15 years out of date, her correcting me with a patience that was already starting to feel, somehow, humor. She held up the document, then she pointed at me. Yes, I said, that's right. She folded it carefully along its original lines, held it to her chest with both hands, and went back inside. I stood in the corridor for a moment, then went back to my desk and finished the day's intake logs. That was 8 years ago. She's grown now, working transit law on Kareth. Turns out she had a feel for statutes from the beginning, which makes a certain kind of sense. We don't see each other as often as either of us would like. Frontier depots and transit law offices run on different clocks, but on my desk, under the terminal where the intake logs scroll through every morning, there's a document. It's been folded and refolded so many times the creases are nearly worn through. She left it there the last time she visited. I haven't moved it.